Nika. I'm 22 years old and I'm a senior at St. Louis University. I'm studying psychology and biology, so I will graduate with my bachelor's in science quite soon. So my eating disorder developed when I was 11 years old. I was always the heavier set girl. The doctors told me I needed to lose weight. I was like 5'5" and 180. And so then I started finding things on the internet with my cousin. It was just like, we want to look like a Victoria's Secret model. And so we're like, oh, well, how do we do that? We don't eat. And so we would do that, and then we would exercise, and then she was fine, but I started, it was a very cyclical cycle. And so it would be phases of restricting, then binging, then throwing it up, and then I did that for 9 years. And so it was good for some parts of it, and then not good. So I would have like a year where I was fine, or I thought I was fine, and then something would trigger it. So like I needed a sense of control, and so then I would just like break down and not eat anything, or just eat everything and throw up. And so then my freshman year of college is when it got really bad. My boyfriend of a year broke up with me, and I was heartbroken. And then I went from being one of the most intelligent people in my high school to being like one of the stupidest people at school. Like my first biology test, I got a D, and never in my life have I gotten that on a test. And so that was bad. My mom lost her job. I was going to SLU, so it's $40,000 a year. So I was like, well, shit, what am I gonna do now? And then I started breaking out in hives, my body did, and so I had no idea what was going on. And so the thing that helped me the most was I had no control over anything else in my life, so I needed to control my food intake. And that's how I got really, really bad. Then I finally decided to try and get treatment my sophomore year. They have like a service thing, because I didn't want my parents to know. And then, so I was already getting help for it for a couple of months, and then my mom heard me throwing up downstairs, and then that was when it got really bad. And so then she referred me to her like really good friend who's also a therapist, and from there she helped me significantly. And so that was about 2 years ago. So I've been good since then. Well, like I said, growing up, I never really fit in. I was always the tallest person too. So it was hard being taller than all of my teachers, all of my friends, and also being bigger than them. And so I grew out of children's sizes in like second grade. And so just the whole sense of never fitting in, plus I'm from Croatia, so I'm foreign already. So I was like, oh my God, I fit in nowhere. And then my mom was always good, but my dad was a PE teacher back in the homeland. And so he's always been into fitness and tried to get my brother and I to do fitness, but we didn't like it. I hated sports. I didn't like doing anything. And then he would always try to tell me, like, you need to lose weight right now, or you're gonna have extra skin for the rest of your life. Like, you're gonna be fat forever. And so, like, all those little things, he never intentionally said it, but to me, it manifested itself into something much greater. Yeah. And then again, the sense of control, when everything else in my life wasn't in control, I needed that thing to be in control of it. Yeah. I remember looking in the mirror when I was at my lowest. I was 130 pounds at 6 months, so I was a rail. I was a size 02. And I was like, I need to lose 20 pounds to look good. How am I going to go about this? Because I personally didn't have anything to lose, but I thought I did. And so it affected everything. I wouldn't go out with friends, especially if it was like meal related. I wouldn't go to Starbucks because I didn't know what to get, because coffee with creamer had calories and I didn't like anything else. And so my entire life revolved around numbers, and even when I wasn't tracking it, I was tracking it in my head. So like, this banana has 100 calories. Okay, what am I gonna have next? And like, everything was about numbers. Yeah. My whole sense of worth was revolved around a number, and so it was just hard all the time because you're never happy. And like, I weighed myself like 10 times a day, and in the morning, if I weighed myself and it wasn't less than the day before, it was a crappy day. And if it was less than the day before, I had to weigh myself later that night. And of course it goes up because you eat and drink, and then it would ruin my day. And so it was just not fun. So I was going to the gym when it was bad. I started going to the gym when I was 12 years old. And so I also played sports. So like in high school, I would have 2 hours of basketball practice after school. Then I would go to the gym for 3 hours to do cardio. And I would do the elliptical for an hour, the treadmill for an hour, and the bike for an hour, like thinking that's healthy. And so again, when I got to college, I thought that going to the gym was like gonna be an outlet for me. And so I would take like Zumba classes and stuff, and I wasn't really into strength training. And then in 2013, it was like the beginning of the year, New Year's resolution fun stuff, I asked my brother to teach me how to lift, because these girls that I was envying and wanting to look like who had abs and defined muscles and were toned and all that, they were lifting. And so I was like, well, obviously I'm doing something wrong. Cardio's not going to give me the body I want. So then I started lifting with the help of my brother. And then about 3 months in, I realized I couldn't eat 500 calories a day and sustain that lifestyle. Like, it's just not possible. So my appetite got way bigger and I started eating more. And that was all good for like 6 months, and then bulimia developed. And that's what set me back a little bit, but then because I knew that I needed to eat. I knew I couldn't eat 8,000 calories in one night and then burn it off the next morning and not eat the rest of the day, because it was like a cyclical cycle, but I was still doing it because your brain and like what you know and what you do is just so disconnected when you're suffering from an eating disorder. So fitness definitely helped me guide me in the right direction, but it was the therapy that helped me realize that I do need to have my nutrition in line. I need to be honest with myself when I can't eat 1,000 calories a day and be like, well, why am I not getting muscle? And so just getting into that, and then getting into strongman training helped a lot too. I mean, I was already good at that point, but it helps sustain it. You can always relapse. And so knowing that, like, if I want to lift 300 pounds, I'm going to need to eat according to those goals. I'm going to need to train according to those goals. And so having a bigger goal in mind helps stay on track a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
You're developing that, really.
A lot, yeah. Especially being tall, I thought I had to look like a runway model, and so that was my goal. And then when I hit that goal, it didn't do anything for me. And so media plays a part, but I also think genetics play a part, and how you reinforce those behaviors, because like both my parents have a few mental disorders, so I think that plays a role, because even with the anorexia, like I was very depressed, like that's comorbid with it. So some people aren't triggered by the media and some are. I actually wrote a paper about the neurobiological structures of eating disorders.
Really?
And so there's different structures that, like your hippocampus, that's responsible for like memories and stuff. If that is underactive or overactive, you perceive yourself differently. So some people might be completely healthy and exposed to the media, but they're not triggered to an eating disorder, whereas someone with like an overactive or underactive hippocampus, that might be a trigger for them, just because their brain genetically is built a little bit differently. And so I think media does play a role, but you can't necessarily tie it to it, you know, and so case by case. I think just showing people different styles and different versions, because like we like to lift heavy, but there's other people who like to bodybuild, and then there's other people who like to dance, there's other people who like play sports, they like do Zumba, they like calisthenics, all these different things. So exposing someone to something they enjoy, because I hate running, I'd rather like do anything but run, and so, but I like biking, and so like finding that balance of like I can do cardio, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have to run. So like educating people on the different kinds of fitness, everything that like different that you can do, and it can be fun. You can go outside, you can hike, you can rock climb, you can do all these different things. You don't necessarily have to be in the gym lifting weights, and yeah, and then finding their own motivation, because other things motivate different people. Not necessarily, because a lot of people don't want to be fit, or like their ideal body shape isn't someone with muscle, and so I think that people need to strive for what's healthy for them, because healthy looks different on everybody. Like someone might be healthy at 10% body fat, whereas to someone else that's extremely disordered to get to that point. And then some people can't get under 25% body fat unless they follow like a really strict diet, and to them that might not be healthy. So I think healthy looks different on everybody, and they should strive to be the healthiest version of themselves for their body type.